right, get ready, because today we're going deep into Hermetic philosophy.
Oh yeah, we're talking ancient wisdom, secret societies.
Like Indiana Jones, but for hidden truths.
Exactly. But we're not going full-on treasure hunt this time.
Right, we're zeroing in on one specific idea from the Kybalion.
It's called the principle of causation.
Causation. I'd like cause and effect, but on a grander scale.
It's like a universal cheat code for figuring out why things happen, seeing those connections behind everyday events.
Ooh, I like the sound of that. A cheat code for life. Sign me up.
Exactly. And to guide us, we've got some really cool sources, a blog called the Kybalion by weiwat.
So no dusty old tomes or secret rituals this time, just good old-fashioned internet wisdom.
Pretty much. So the principle of causation, in a nutshell, says there's no such thing as chance. Everything happens for a reason.
Hold on, everything. Even like winning the lottery or spilling coffee on your shirt.
Even those things. It's not about fate or destiny, but about understanding the chain of events that lead to each moment.
Okay, I'm skeptical but intrigued. Give me an example.
Let's say you're walking down the street and find a $20 bill just lying there, lucky, right?
Yeah, score. But how's that not just random chance?
Well, think about it. Someone had to lose that $20, right? Maybe it fell out of their pocket, or they dropped it without noticing.
Okay, so there's step one.
Then the wind maybe blew it around, maybe other people walked by and didn't see it.
A series of unfortunate events for them, but fortunate for me.
Exactly. It's not just about you finding the money. It's about everything that had to happen before for you to be in the right place at the right time.
So instead of random luck, it's a whole chain of events leading up to that moment.
Like a domino effect, but we usually only see the last domino falling.
Ooh, I love that analogy. So instead of seeing life as a series of random events, this principle is about seeing the cause and effect connections, like suddenly seeing the Matrix.
I love that. And speaking of seeing the Matrix, remember Ned Stark's decision in Game of Thrones to reveal Cersei's secret? One choice, and bam, chaos.
Oh man, that's a perfect example. That one decision set off a whole chain reaction of betrayals, wars.
Exactly. It shows how even seemingly small actions can have huge ripple effects.
And it keeps us hooked on the story, because every choice matters, right?
It's what makes the story compelling. So we've seen it in fantasy, but what about the real world? Like in science, how does this principle of causation play out?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not like scientists believe in magic or anything.
But they are, like detectives, always looking for causes to explain the effects they observe.
So a new disease pops up, they try to figure out what caused it. A weird thing happens in space, they look for the cosmic event that triggered it.
Exactly. They're always trying to trace back the chain of events to understand the why behind the what.
So basically, the principle of causation is like the foundation of scientific inquiry.
Absolutely. But what about things that seem truly random, like rolling dice? Surely there's no scientific explanation for where those little cubes land.
Yeah, that one always stumps me. How can those be governed by cause and effect?
Think of it like a really complex video game. To the player, things might seem random, enemies appearing, items dropping, but the developers have programmed specific algorithms that determine those outcomes.
So even in a video game, there's a hidden order behind the apparent randomness.
It's just too complex for us to grasp while we're playing. Same with dice. The angle you throw them, the force you use, even tiny drafts in the room, all those things influence the outcome.
So it's not magic, just a ton of variables we don't see.
Right. We're not saying there's a tiny dice rolling god up there, just that there's a cause for every effect, even if we can't always trace it back.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together. But this raises a big question, doesn't it?
I think I know where you're going with this.
If everything's cause and effect, what about free will? Are we all just puppets on strings with no real control over our lives? Cue the dramatic music.
Don't worry, it's not that bleak. The Hermetic view on this is actually pretty nuanced. Free will and determinism. The idea that everything's preordained, they're not mutually exclusive, they're two sides of the same coin.
Okay, that sounds a bit like a philosophical puzzle. Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Imagine a bird flying in the wind. It has the freedom to choose its path, to soar and dive, but it can't ignore the wind's direction and strength. It has to work within those constraints.
So we do have choices, but we make them within certain limits set by the rules of the universe.
Exactly. And the more we understand those rules, the more skillfully we can navigate them. Like leveling up in that video game analogy, you get more options and freedom as you understand the game better.
That's a helpful way to think about it.
Yeah.
So how do we go from being passengers to drivers, so to speak? The Kybalion talks about becoming movers instead of just being moved. But how do we actually make that shift?
It starts with examining our desires. Are they truly us, or are they shaped by things outside of us, advertising, societal pressures, that influencer you follow who always seems to be on vacation?
Ooh, that hits close to home. It's like that Fight Club quote. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like.
Exactly. True freedom comes from aligning with a deeper purpose, something that truly resonates within us, not something we've been told to want.
So less about chasing external validation, more about discovering what truly matters to us.
Exactly. It's like that analogy from the blog of a master adjusting a complex machine. Instead of just reacting to what happens, they understand how it works and can create their desired outcomes.
So instead of being victims of circumstance, we become masters of our own domain. Cue the epic music. But seriously, this all ties into another big idea from the Kybalion, the one great law. What's that all about?
This is where things get really mind-bending. The one great law is like the granddaddy of all universal laws, the source from which all others spring.
Whoa, okay, hold on. So it's like a hidden code that governs the entire universe. Are we back in the Matrix again?
You could think of it that way. It's like discovering a unified theory of everything, a grand design behind what often seems random and chaotic.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But if there's this one great law governing everything, does that mean the universe has a mind? Like some giant cosmic brain calling the shots?
It's not about a physical brain, but rather a universal intelligence, a consciousness that's woven into everything.
So the universe is like a conscious entity. That's a lot to process.
It is, but it also opens up some incredible possibilities. Because if we're all part of this universal consciousness, we have access to its creative power.
Wait, hold on. Does that mean we're all assimilated into some collective hive mind, like the Borg from Star Trek?
No, it's not about losing our individuality. It's more about recognizing our connection to something much larger than ourselves.
So less about being absorbed, more about realizing we're all part of this incredible interconnected web.
Exactly. And to tap into that power, it starts with cultivating inner wisdom, quieting the mind, being present, and noticing those patterns that hold us back.
That sounds incredibly profound, but also a little abstract. How do we actually translate this into practical action? Give us the cheat codes.
Think of it like this. When we align ourselves with the one great law, our actions become more intuitive, more in sync with the natural order of things. It's like riding a wave instead of constantly fighting against the current.
So less about forcing things to happen, more about going with the flow of the universe.
You got it. And here's another key point. Even small actions can create powerful ripples. We don't need to make sweeping changes to make a difference.
It's like that Mother Teresa quote. Not all of us can do great things, but we can do small things with great love.
Exactly. It's all about those everyday choices, how we treat others, how we approach challenges, even how we care for ourselves. It all adds up.
So we've journeyed from random events to universal consciousness, from feeling like passive pawns to realizing we have the power to shape our reality.
And that's just the beginning. There's so much more to explore in Hermetic philosophy.
Well, before we get ahead of ourselves, I think we need a moment to digest all of this. We've covered a lot of ground. Join us again for part 2, where we'll delve even deeper into the Kybalion and explore how to apply these principles to our everyday lives.
It's going to be mind-blowing.
Wait, what?
All right, we're back, and my brain is still buzzing from that last segment. Universal consciousness, co-creating our reality. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But the cool thing about Hermetic philosophy is that it's not just theoretical, it's meant to be lived.
That's what I'm really curious about. How do we go from these big, mind-blowing ideas to actually making changes in our day-to-day lives?
Right? How do we go from passenger to driver?
Exactly. So where do we even begin?
It all starts with awareness, becoming more conscious of the thoughts and beliefs that are shaping our reality. Those thoughts and beliefs are causes, and they create effects in the world around us.
So if we want to change our external reality, we need to start by changing our internal reality.
Exactly. It's like cleaning up your mental house before you redecorate.
I like that. So if we want to attract more abundance, joy, love into our lives, we need to cultivate those qualities within ourselves first.
Exactly. And this applies to all areas of life. Want better relationships? Start by looking at how you relate to yourself. Want more success? Cultivate a mindset of abundance and possibility.
It's almost like we're each carrying around a blueprint for our reality, and that blueprint is created by our thoughts, beliefs, expectations.
That's a great way to put it. And the good news is we have the power to change that blueprint.
Okay, that is good news. But how do we actually do that? Can't just be wishful thinking, right?
It's not passive wishing, it's active choosing. Every thought, every belief, every action is a choice.
And those choices, no matter how small, they're constantly shaping our reality.
Exactly. It's like we're playing this constant game of cause and effect, but now we're becoming more aware of the rules, playing with more intention.
I'm ready to level up,
Yeah.
but sometimes it feels like I'm stuck in a rut, like those negative patterns are on a repeat and I can't break free.
We all have those ingrained patterns and habits that can be tough to shift. But remember, even the most deeply rooted patterns can be changed with conscious effort.
So how do we break free? Do we need some kind of mental crowbar?
It starts with awareness. Notice the pattern, observe it without judgment, then ask yourself, what's the underlying belief or fear that's driving this?
So it's like doing some deep inner work, getting to the root of the problem instead of just treating the symptoms.
Exactly. And once you've identified that belief or fear, start to challenge it. Is it really true? Is it serving you? Is it aligned with the life you want to create?
And if it's not, we can choose to let it go, replace it with something more empowering.
It's about consciously rewiring your mind, creating new pathways that support the reality you desire.
So we're upgrading our mental software, deleting the old programs that no longer serve us and installing new ones that are aligned with our highest potential.
That's a great analogy. And remember, it's an ongoing process. There will be times when you fall back into old patterns, but that's okay. It's all part of the journey.
It's not about being perfect. It's
Yeah.
about progress, right?
Yeah.
Showing up every day and making conscious choices.
Exactly. And as you do that, as you become more aligned with the one great law, you start to experience a deeper sense of purpose and fulfillment in your life. You move from feeling like a victim of circumstance to becoming a conscious co-creator of your reality.
That's incredibly empowering. But I have to admit, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. There's so much to this.
It can feel like drinking from a fire hose, I know.
Mm.
But the key is to take it one step at a time. Start with small changes, small shifts in your thoughts, beliefs, and actions.
Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Baby steps are okay.
Exactly. Remember, even small actions can create powerful ripples. Focus on becoming more conscious and intentional in your everyday life, and the bigger changes will follow.
Okay, that feels much more manageable. So we've talked about becoming more aware of our thoughts and beliefs, making conscious choices. But there's still something I'm not quite grasping.
I think I know what you're getting at.
What does it actually mean to become a master in this Hermetic context? Does it involve a secret handshake or a cool cape?
Haha, no capes that I'm aware of. Becoming a master isn't about gaining power over others, it's about mastering yourself.
So it's not about becoming some kind of cosmic dictator. It's about becoming a more conscious and responsible co-creator.
That's a great way to put it. It's about understanding that we're not separate from the universe, we're an integral part of it. And our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for the whole.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But what are the qualities of a master? How do they move through the world differently?
A master is someone who understands and applies the principles of the universe, the laws of nature, in their own life. They see the interconnectedness of all things and strive to live in harmony with that one great law.
It's like they've graduated from playing the game on easy mode to mastering all the levels.
Exactly. It's about moving from reacting to life to consciously creating it.
All right, I'm convinced. But how do we actually make that upgrade? Where do we start?
We've already touched on some key steps: becoming aware of our thoughts and beliefs, making conscious choices, and challenging those old patterns that no longer serve us. But there's another important piece to the puzzle.
So it's like we've been gathering all these tools, learning how to use them, becoming more aware of our thoughts, making conscious choices, breaking those old patterns.
It's like building a mental toolkit.
Right. But every toolkit needs that one special tool. The one that can handle the really tough jobs.
And in this case, that tool is the practice of aligning ourselves with the one great law. It's about consciously tapping into that universal consciousness.
The universal flow of creative energy we talked about.
Exactly.
That sounds powerful, but how do we actually de-go that? Do we need to, sit on a mountaintop and meditate for hours on end?
Not necessarily. It can be much simpler than that. It's about bringing that awareness and intention to everything you do, even the little things, the everyday stuff.
So it's a constant practice, like we're always refining our skills, becoming more attuned to that universal flow.
Yes. Think of it like learning an instrument. At first, it's all about the basics, scales and exercises. But as you get better, you start to feel the music.
You connect with something deeper.
Exactly.
And the more we connect with that flow, the more we become conscious co-creators of our reality.
Precisely. It's like we're moving from feeling like victims of circumstance to realizing we have the power to shape our own destiny.
That's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
But in practical terms, what can we do every day to align ourselves with this one great law?
It starts with the basics, taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. Getting enough sleep, eating healthy food, moving your body, spending time in nature.
Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. And once you've got that solid foundation, you can start building your spiritual practice, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's meditation or prayer, journaling, spending time in nature.
Finding what resonates with you.
Right. The point is to quiet the mind, connect with your inner wisdom.
Like fine-tuning our antennas to pick up the signal from the universe.
I like that. And as you do that, you'll start to notice more synchronicities, more of those right place, right time moments.
Sign me up for more of those. But I have to be honest, sometimes it feels like I'm sending out mixed signals to the universe. Like my thoughts and actions aren't always in alignment.
That's totally normal. We're all works in progress. There will be times when you feel out of alignment. The important thing is to notice when it's happening and gently guide yourself back.
So no need to beat ourselves up when we mess up.
Exactly. It's about being kind to yourself, remembering that it's a journey, not a destination.
It's about progress, not perfection.
I like that. And every time we catch ourselves falling back into old patterns, it's a chance to learn and grow.
Like in those video games, where you got to keep practicing to level up your skills.
Exactly. And as we level up our spiritual game, we become better at navigating the challenges of life. We learn to respond with grace and wisdom instead of reacting out of fear or frustration.
So it's not about avoiding challenges, it's about approaching them in a new way, with more understanding.
That's it. Challenges become opportunities for growth,
So we're not just sitting around waiting for good things to happen. We're actively creating the reality we want.
Yes, that's what it means to become a mover, taking responsibility and co-creating with the universe.
This has been an amazing journey. I'm so glad we had this chance to dive into Hermetic philosophy together.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
And for our listeners, we'll be sure to link to all the resources we mentioned in the show notes. Definitely check out that blog by weiwat. It's a great starting point.
Absolutely. There's a whole world of Hermetic wisdom out there waiting to be discovered.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep shining your light.
And may the one great law be with you.
Until next time.